In this week's top stories, the IRS employs AI to crack down on tax evasion, Neuralink commences human trials, the possibility of flying electric taxis transforming America, and more. Welcome to this week's Carbon Valley episode. I'm your host Roger. Neuralink is now inviting human participants on an experimental trial. The trials will evaluate the safety and effectiveness of the brain-computer interface implant, the surgical robot, and the user app. Only participants with quadriplegia or paralysis below the neck can apply. The brain-computer interface implant can record and transmit an individual's brain activity so that people could control a computer cursor or keyboard using their thoughts alone. New technologies seem to be taking shape. One technology we've definitely imagined would be in a futuristic world are flying taxis. Imagine a drone that is big enough to let you ride in it. This is what flying taxis are. An Israeli startup named Kando recently tested the flying taxi, or eVTOL, which took off, flew above the city, and returned to land. This could definitely beat the traffic to get to the hospital. According to a regulatory timeline, electric air taxis can start flying through the skies by 2028. Joby announced just last week that they're planning to invest $500 million to build its first scaled production plant at Dayton, Ohio, and will be producing up to 500 electric aircraft per year. They won't be private jets though. They'll fly up to 200 miles an hour within a 100-mile radius. There are still safety regulations to write, heliports to be built, and cost decreases to be had before most people can take these taxis. The wealthy could get first dibs, but they might have to face other issues in the future, like no longer being able to evade taxes. The IRS is now using AI to help crack down on illegal tax practices. Now, the IRS is able to further investigate tax evasion among larger partnerships, such as law firms, real estate investors, private equity groups, and hedge funds. It's part of the IRS's efforts to tackle the problems that it previously was overwhelmed with. It's part of a broader IRS effort to investigate millionaires with significant unpaid taxes and how high-income taxpayers use foreign bank accounts to avoid disclosing financial information. So, maybe think again before storing your net worth in an offshore bank account in the Bahamas? One way you could have become wealthy without evading taxes is if you bought $22,000 worth of call options on Splunk a day before it was announced to be acquired by Cisco. After said announcement, Splunk went up by 21% and you would have been an instant multimillionaire. This acquisition is pretty big, a $28 billion deal. Why would Cisco do this? Splunk is a cybersecurity company which sells software that helps businesses monitor, manage, and analyze machine-generated data. Cisco manufactures and sells telecommunications and networking equipment. Acquiring Splunk would help Cisco increase security on its networking products and shift from threat detection to threat prevention. They aim to drive the next generation of AI-enabled security and observability. One way this move is strategic for Cisco is that it ensures that big tech companies don't control all of the next wave of AI-driven software and cybersecurity. Cisco has been wanting to buy Splunk since 2022, but with Splunk's stock price at an all-time high, Cisco waited. Now, Splunk is trading at 30% to that peak. Cisco seems ahead of the game. The International Criminal Court, however, isn't. The International Criminal Court announced that hackers accessed its computer systems. The ICC was established in 2002 to try crimes against humanity. They handle highly sensitive information about war crimes, from criminal evidence to names of protected witnesses. The ICC posted on X, formerly Twitter, immediate measures were adopted to respond to the cybersecurity incident and to mitigate its impact. It's unclear whether the data was accessed or exfiltrated. With the ICC currently investigating war crimes in Ukraine, there could be a multitude of motivations for the cyber attack. National security may motivate cyber attacks like these, but cyber attacks like the recent one in Vegas might have other motives. In Las Vegas, MGM Resorts, one of the largest casino hotel chains that brings in millions in revenue daily, was faced with a cyber attack. Guests had to wait hours to check in as electronic payments, digital keycards, ATMs, paid parking systems, and even slot machines were all disrupted. So much for that Vegas vacation. A group called Scattered Spider claimed responsibility for executing the attack. The hackers found information for an employee in IT on LinkedIn and impersonated them in a call to MGM's IT help desk to get credentials to access and infect the systems. A former MGM employee said that only an employee identification number, date of birth, and name was needed to obtain a password reset. They also reportedly used ransomware from a group called Alpha, a well-known black hat actor that is thought to be responsible for attacks against Reddit and Western Digital. Alpha dismissed these as rumors. The MGM computer systems needed to be shut down to prevent data from being leaked. It's unclear what data the hackers might have and what ransom they might demand to return access. Ransomware hits small and medium-sized businesses countless times per week. It's attacked major infrastructure as well, anywhere with sensitive data. Some allege that ScatterSpider is also responsible for a cyber attack on Caesars, a rival of MGM, which occurred a few weeks earlier. Hackers first breached an outside IT vendor before gaining access to the company's network. A data breach of tens of millions of customers may have been exposed, including driver's licenses and social security numbers. The company said that they've taken steps to ensure the stolen data is deleted by the unauthorized actor, although they couldn't guarantee the results. Caesars was said to pay around $15 million to get their data back. While you can't file a lawsuit against unknown hackers, you can file a lawsuit against oil companies deceiving you about climate change. The state of California is suing 5 major oil companies: BP, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, and ConocoPhillips. The 135-page lawsuit filed by California Attorney General alleges that the companies knew about the risks of fossil fuels but carried out a disinformation campaign beginning as early as the 1970s to downplay climate change-related risks and discredit a growing scientific consensus on climate change. Internal company memos and reports are being used as evidence. California believes their taxpayers shouldn't need to foot the bill for billions of dollars in damages, from wildfires, toxic smoke, to droughts and heat waves. The lawsuit is seeking the creation of a fund that would be used to help pay for recovery from extreme weather events and mitigation efforts. This is not far-fetched. Several California cities sued companies that made lead paint on similar grounds. Those companies eventually agreed to settle for $305 million, which was used to create an abatement fund. On the other hand, governments didn't file a lawsuit against Fox Media for disinformation regarding the 2020 election, voting system companies did. Some speculate that might be related to why Rupert Murdoch, at 92, is stepping down from his position as the chairman of Fox News and News Corp, ending more than a 7-decade career. His announcement was shocking to some, as the way he ran his company led people to believe he planned to die on his throne. Speculations about health issues were dispelled when Murdoch said in a memo to his staff, "Our companies are in robust health, as am I." Earlier this year, Fox settled a lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems for $787 million over the network's endorsements of claims of voting fraud stealing away Trump's 2020 election. Smartmatic's lawsuit against Fox for $2.7 billion is for a similar reason, and some say Murdoch is retiring to avoid having to testify in the proceedings. Lachlan's, Rupert's eldest son, will be taking his place, although it's possible that Rupert's 3 other children with voting shares could outvote Lachlan's position. Another place where outvoting could happen is Netflix's adaptation of Squidgame. In a real-life version of Squidgame, 456 people will be competing against each other for $4.56 million, apparently the largest cash prize in reality TV show history. Mr. Beast could have helped Netflix with this, given that Mr. Beast already hosted a real-life Squidgame with $456,000 as the cash prize. The show will begin airing on November 22nd. Alright, that wraps it up for this week's stories. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.